Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to, well, really understanding complex topics.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're looking at something pretty crucial for organizational integrity, really. ISO 37301.
That's right. Specifically, the 2021 version. It was quite a step up.
Yeah, exactly. Our mission today is to sort of unpack this standard, understand its international weight, what it actually means for businesses, maybe even for individuals. We've gone through some certification guides, looked at specific research on 37301, trying to get the core info.
Good stuff.
So by the end of this, you should have a clear picture of what this standard is, why organizations are, frankly, prioritizing it globally, and maybe even, how someone could become an expert auditor in this space.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's kick things off then. What exactly is ISO 37301, and why are so many organizations, focusing on it now?
Right. So if you look at the big picture, ISO 37301.201, it's not just another piece of paper. It's really seen as the international benchmark for having an effective compliance management system.
The benchmark. Okay.
Yeah, and the 2021 update really cemented that. It shifted the focus beyond just ticking boxes. It really emphasized the culture of compliance. That was a big change from, say, older ways of thinking about regulation.
Okay, so culture, not just rules. That sounds deeper. So what does that actually mean for an organization? Like, beyond compliance in that old sense, what are the real tangible benefits they get from adopting this?
Well, that's the key question, isn't it? The sources we looked at point to several big advantages. First, it really pushes leadership to actively champion ethical behavior, to foster a culture where integrity isn't just a slogan,
Right, it have to come from the top.
Exactly. That commitment is vital. It makes compliance part of the everyday fabric, not some separate department's problem. Second, it gives them a solid framework, for identifying and sticking to all the relevant laws, regulations.
That's must-dos.
The must-dos, yes. But also looking ahead at what's changing. And crucially, it helps minimize risk, not just the obvious legal or financial risk, but also reputational damage.
Yeah. That can be killer.
It really can. Sometimes harder to recover from than a fine. And finally, maybe the most strategic part. It builds stakeholder trust. Real transparency.
How so?
Well, think about investors, partners, even customers. Seeing that certification, knowing the organization takes this seriously, it signals stability, ethical conduct. It's a powerful message.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like it shifts compliance from being, a cost center or a necessary evil into something that actually adds value, builds trust, cuts down on those hidden risks, makes the whole organization more resilient.
Precisely. It's proactive, not reactive. It's about weaving compliance into how the business actually runs day to day, part of the decision-making.
Not just something you scramble to fix after something goes wrong.
Exactly. That's the old way. This is about prevention and building a strong ethical core.
Okay, so if an organization hears this and thinks, right, we need this, what does that journey actually look like? How do they get ISO 37301 certified? Is there a clear path?
Yes, there is. It's definitely a structured process. The sources lay it out quite clearly. It's designed for success, not just, hoping for the best.
Right.
It usually kicks off with something called a gap analysis and readiness review. Basically, figuring out where you stand right now versus the standard.
Okay, the starting point.
Yeah, and honestly, this is often an eye-opener for companies. They find gaps they didn't even know they had, especially with things like third-party risks, vendors and suppliers.
You can imagine. What's next?
Then you move into policy and procedure development. This is where you build the actual framework, the rules of the road for your specific organization. It's not one size fits all.
So tailoring it is key.
Absolutely crucial. After that comes risk assessment and compliance controls. Identifying potential problems before they happen and putting things in place to manage them. Very proactive.
Makes sense.
Then, really important, training and awareness programs. You need everyone on board, right? Compliance isn't just for the legal team.
True. It involves everyone.
It does. Then, before the final exam, so to speak, you do internal audits and pre-certification checks. Basically, a dress rehearsal, making sure everything's ready.
Checking your own homework.
Kinda, yeah. And finally, you liaise with accredited certification bodies. These are the external folks who do the official audit. Having guidance through that final step is really helpful.
Wow, okay. So it's really quite comprehensive. It's not just a weekend workshop. It sounds like a deep, systematic change to how a company operates, how it thinks about risk and integrity.
That's a great way to put it. It's meant to be transformative, embedding compliance right into the core operations and culture.
So that leads me to think about the people involved. Once an organization has this system or is building it, what if you want to be the person leading these efforts, or maybe even auditing different companies? Is there a way to become an expert in this standard?
Yes. That's where the ISO 37301 lead auditor qualification comes in. It's definitely a growing field.
Lead auditor, okay. What does that involve?
Well, these courses, often developed by people who've been in the trenches, industry professionals, they're designed to give you practical auditing skills, not just the theory.
Right, the how-to.
Exactly. You learn how to plan audits, how to lead them, how to report findings effectively for ISO 37301. You get a really deep understanding of the standard itself, the structure, the clauses, the tricky bits of implementation.
That's thorough.
It is. And crucially, you learn how to spot nonconformities where things aren't quite right, but also, importantly, how to drive continuous improvement. It's not just about finding fault.
Okay. And what can you do with that qualification?
Well, it qualifies you to work with those certification bodies we mentioned, the ones doing the official audits. Or you could work as a freelance consultant, helping organizations prepare.
Yeah.
It opens quite a few doors.
That does sound like a valuable skill set, especially now. So if someone's interested, how do they actually become an auditor through one of these courses? What's the learning like? What are the highlights?
Typically, the training dives deep into key areas. There's a big focus on the risk-based compliance framework. So how to identify, assess, and actually mitigate compliance risks effectively. Not just checking boxes, but understanding the impact.
Impact, right.
Then there's leadership and organizational culture. Understanding how vital top management's role is and how you, as an auditor, can assess that commitment.
Assessing the tone at the top.
Exactly. Also, integration with business processes, making sure compliance isn't just this separate thing over here, but actually part of how the business works.
Makes sense.
And finally, continuous improvement and monitoring. Because compliance is never done, right? It needs ongoing attention.
It's a cycle.
Precisely. As for getting the certificate, it usually involves online learning, maybe some case studies or simulations to make it practical. Often there's some one-on-one time with instructors too.
Okay.
And then typically an open book exam. The goal isn't just memorization, but showing you can apply the knowledge. It's designed to be practical and lead to a recognized qualification pretty efficiently.
It really sounds like a clear pathway for someone wanting to specialize.
It is, and in a field that's only growing in importance.
Well, this has been quite the deep dive. We've really unpacked ISO 37301, haven't we? Seeing it as this key international benchmark for organizational integrity, managing risk effectively.
Moving beyond the basics.
Yeah, and we explored that whole structured journey to certification, how it's really about building a culture of trust, being proactive, not just, ticking those compliance boxes.
A fundamental shift for many organizations.
Definitely. And then uncovering that clear route for individuals to become certified lead auditors, becoming those essential guides in this really critical landscape.
It really underlines that strong compliance isn't just a cost. It's an investment in the organization's reputation and its future.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? Consider your own organization, maybe your career path. How could this international standard, or maybe even the idea of becoming a lead auditor yourself, how could that spark some new thinking?
Good question to ponder.
Yeah, thinking beyond just avoiding penalties, how can you actively build that reputation for trust, for integrity, for really proactive risk management? Maybe reflect on the wider value, the often unseen value that strong compliance brings to everyone involved, employees, customers, investors, the whole community. It really shapes how organizations can operate responsibly in, let's face it, a pretty complex world.